Hello everyone, it's Lennon, and today I want to talk about some oddly specific witchy books that I've been into lately. Ever since my rededication into witchcraft, I will leave that video upstairs for you. It's a video of me marrying witchcraft. Ever since then, that happened in October of last year, I have wanted to dive into more witchy books. I've always been one of those that I don't read a lot of witchy books. After rededicating myself, I realized that I did want to get into some. So, and when I looked at my stack, I realized that I could categorize them. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about the books in several categories. There will be timestamps below if you want to jump around, like if a category shoots out and, you know, you're like, oh, what books go in this category? Then do that. But anyway, and I do want to say that some of these are real books and some of these are on my Kindle. I'll probably put a picture here in the void area for those, for the Kindle books. But anyway, let's get started. Okay, there's 3 books in the first category, and I want to call this category The Crafting of the Witch. But the first one will probably give you the clue, is Spirit of the Witch by Raven Grimassi. Very good book. I had this on my bookshelf. Much like a lot of these, I had this on my bookshelf that was it's perusable. So I finally read the damn thing cover to cover, and it was really good. I mean, I like how Raven Grimassi writes. I do. But it was almost like the purpose of this book was to get you in touch with the witch within. That's how I took it. Is let's get down to the witch that lives inside of me, the spirit of the witch. And it did. It very much did. I very much underlined and highlighted a lot of this book. I think my favorite sections are kind of in the middle of the book, and that is the witch in moonlight and the witch in daylight. And I don't know. He just does something with his words that really did get me into the spirit of my witch, crafting my witch. So that's the first book. The next 2 are newer publications and new to me. So they're like new to my collection that I bought within the last 6 months. And this is by Lisa McSherry. It's A Witch's Guide to Crafting Your Practice. This was published in 2022. I actually saw a YouTube video, I can't remember if it was an interview or not, with Lisa. And I really liked their take on the craft. And when I realized that they wrote a book, I bought it. So this book itself is what it says. It's a book about crafting the practice that is yours. And I really appreciated the take. Like, it's divided into sections, 2 sections, the foundation and then the practice. And I really, really enjoyed that as like this goes a little bit beyond the Witch 101 books, because what people may not realize is that to build a practice, you do have to have some sort of foundation. And what does that look like? If someone new to the craft is wanting to be like, I just want to go all in and da-da-da, and it's like, you have to figure out what your, you know, what kind of a practice you want to build. You want a daily practice, an every so often practice. You want to go by the wheel of the year, you know, like a yearly practice where, monthly or yearly practice where it goes on the Sabbats and Espats and moon cycles. What kind of cycles do you want to associate yourself with as a witch? So I've found this foundation chapter very good. So I like how this is set up. And while not everything in books is adaptables for me, like sections on altars, sections on hexing or whatever, like some of the sections that you'll find in books aren't going to adhere to your practice. And you just have to know that going in, that some of what that author may talk about isn't right for you. So, and same thing with any of these books, that, you know, you got to cross out what doesn't really sound right to you, you know. So really enjoyed this though. Craft your practice. Crafting the witch. Okay? Crafting the witch that lives in, you know, within. And building that foundation for yourself. The next one in the category is The Untamed Witch. This was also published in 2022. I loved the title. Untamed Witch. I thought that this would be about wild crafting, the wild magic, right? But it's really about rewilding the witch within and figuring out, again, what you want to do foundationally in your craft. It says, reclaim your instincts, yes, rewild your craft, and create your most powerful magic. Very, very nice, okay? But, and then, like, when I bought this, I kind of was a little scared because I was like, I love the title. I kind of just want it, you know, I want it to have it on my bookshelf, blah, blah, blah. But it probably won't really go into any depth, you know, kind of like you're always scared to get a witchcraft book and think, I'm probably not going to learn much from this, but it still may be worth it, you know, to buy it. And it was. So it does go beyond the basics. Look at all these chapters. That's a lot. It does talk about the difficult relationship between humans and natures. I really liked that section about how we're dissociated from nature in today's culture, in today's world. We're dissociated from a lot of what the ancients would have done agriculturally. So finding a practice that reintegrates ourselves with nature and forms a relationship with nature is pretty good, especially for the pagan-minded of us. Anyway, it talks about consciousness, inward and outward consciousness, inward and outward thinking, building the witch, the untamed witch, from within and without. Really liked that. Went into sacred spaces. The very last section or chapter of this book is become your own comfort zone. Really enjoyed that. Plus, there's wonderful illustrations in this, which is always nice to look at when you're reading. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. I was utterly surprised. The next section is spell work. Okay. A Kindle book that I read is called Book of Spells by Jamie Della. Okay. And sometimes I like to read about spells, and I like to read how other people structure their spell work. I think that that's pretty fascinating. Plus, sometimes those things inspire me to think outside of the box with my own spellcraft. But this book didn't do that. I didn't really enjoy it. I found it to be a Witchcraft 101 basics book in which was bland and dry, and it wasn't about spells. It was about the end of the book went into spellcraft and how there are sections that you can divide your spellcraft in. Anyway, it was just weird. Like, it went into all sorts of things. It went into tarot. It went into spirits. But it was a Witchcraft 101 book, and I didn't realize that that's what it was because it was called the Book of Spells. So I didn't enjoy it. But I digress. The next book is Unspellbook by Maya Ohm. Energy Essentials for Mastering Magic. I was okay with this book, but it went into certain subcategories that I don't resonate with. And that kind of threw me because it felt like the foundation that they wrote the book on was those paradigms, like chakras. And I was like, okay, but could you talk about how this relates to spell work without chakras? But they couldn't, and they didn't. So I had to skip over a lot of this. But one good thing I guess they do with this is they break down the spells. So they start in the first couple of sections talking about the foundation of spell work, and then I'm trying to get to a chart. They were all over the place, and now there's... Basically, she starts at the foundation, lowest level, and then says a sample spell, and then breaks down what it all is. What each thing in spellcraft means and does and is supposed to be and supposed to do, right? Which I liked. And then, throughout the course of the rest of the book, they tell you, okay, now add energy. Now add focus. Now add will. Now add intent. And I liked that. I liked that the whole book is about mapping out one spell or your spellcraft, trying to come up with how you want to map your spells. I guess this would be a good book for someone who wants to do spells the same way over and over and over again, to come up with like a system of spell work, spellcraft, spellcraft that they can go back to continuously, and it builds a spell practice, a spell work practice. So it was pretty cool for that, but you know, And then the last book in spells is The Element of Spellcrafting, Jason Miller. I don't know why I picked the other books up, okay? This has been crucial to my practice. I swear, this book was so great. I can't even express how great. Now, Jason Miller is a great author, and he is hilarious. I really like him. I really like how he brings humor into it. I laughed out loud at the comics that he puts in the front of his chapters. This chapter is matters does not mean necessary. Just means like there are things in magic and witchcraft and spell work that matter, right? Like correspondence wise, and moving things around, things, you know, like if a spell says to use this, you can change it, but maybe think about why it said to put ... in there to begin with. Like, what's the history of that correspondence? And figure out if it is necessary or not, right? So there's just one thing. But it's Harold, who is the conjurer here, and the demon Sal, who looks like a genie, in my opinion. But, you know, I digress. But he says, "Zounds, I used sugar instead of salt." And the demon goes, "Must be why I'm sweet on you." And it's just freaking hilarious. Like, I laughed out loud at some of these. But the takeaway that I brought from each chapter, I took copious amounts of notes actually on, you know, while reading this. And it got me in touch with more than just my spellcraft. What I want to bring to my spellcraft. It made me think a lot about my magic. And how do I put this? It got me in touch with what he would call enchanting myself, right? Like, don't perform a spell. One of the biggest takes away from this was a chapter on basically don't perform a spell if your life won't go that way. Like, if your life's not enchantable, literally that you can enchant it to do blank, then why ask for it? You know? But then on the flip side, so it's just like enchant your life so that the path knows where to go, right? So that the path of least resistance knows where to go, okay? And then on the flip side, you can go to your magic for more than just emergencies, and how at that point it's a little too late. Those were two of my favorite sections in this, is that for the longest time, I was the be careful what you wish for, let's only do magic when we freaking have to. And then I'll sit there and have a migraine for 2 days and not go to my magic at all. And it's like too little too late, you know? So, really eye-opening to read this. It was so good. And his other books are good too, but this one was really good. So that's the last book in Spell. The next section is, I wrote down just magic because there's 2 books and they're the same title. Okay. Same title. This is True Magic with a K by Amber K. And it was really good. It was good. It's quite literally a beginner's guide. This was published in 1990. Okay. So some of what they talk about in here, okay, is outdated. Okay. But I liked the way it was broken down. You know, it's a little pocket-sized book. I can take it and, you know, put it in my purse, put it on a nightstand, and it's really accessible to me the way that, how portable it is, how accessible the chapter layouts are, and I can just flip to a chapter and read something about it. And it worked for me. But it really was very beginner. So some of it I was just like, But I like it. It talks about discernment. It talks about tools. It talks about different magical practices. I kind of liked that. How magic works. What magic is, what magic isn't. In their opinion, okay, I want to say that there are a lot of authors that you read that say, oh, this is what magic is, and this is what magic isn't. And you're like, I don't think that way. That's okay. That's this person's idea. So, past lives, getting ready for ritual. I mean, they do talk about how you have to wear certain things, have to have certain tools. I don't drive with any of that. But for what it was and for how, when it was published, I felt like it was okay, you know? The next one is True Magic by Cindy Brannon. Now, Cindy, I like her, okay? I like her YouTube channel. I like the way she talks about magic and witchcraft and Hecate, because, you know, Hecate is one of mine too. So I like her, and I like her writing for the most part. True Magic went into, I guess you could say it was another beginner type book. Went into a lot of sections about foundational work, and I guess I thought when I picked it up that it would be more on magic, and it was just more on foundational work, so I don't know. But anyway, I digress. There was magic. The next section is Earth Magic. This is Earth Magic, and really have some great books in this section. This one has been on my shelf forever, okay? I don't know when I got this, but it's an oldie but a goodie, and it is Stephen Farmer's Earth Magic. Really good. It was really good. It's just really good. So I got this back off my shelf after the dedication. It's ancient shamanic wisdom for healing yourself, others, and the planet. I'll tell you what I like about this. I like how it's broken down sectionally. I like how it explains certain things. So even if you don't have a shamanic practice, it still gets you in touch with earth magic. It made me feel like I'm closer to the earth in a book, if that makes sense. Like, here's some of the sections if you don't know. Spiritual healing wisdom. Fundamentals of earth magic include spirits, spirit guides, sacred ceremony, sacred items, altars, healing ceremonies, chanting, singing, dancing, storytelling. See, these are things that are ancient in nature. And the ancient practices, like think Siberian shamans, had these dancing, singing, chanting, drumming, ecstaticism, right? Like those types of practices to get in touch with spirits, spirit guides, animal spirits, and earth. It's to be one, right? And it really made me think of that, and it really this is just, to me, a great book for anyone that loves the earth and wants an earth-based practice, I guess. I thought that this was very integral to my practice as a pagan. And then the next one was a new to me book. Let's see when this was published. This was published in 2021. I don't know why I waited so long to pick this up, okay? But this book, you guys, I thoroughly enjoyed this, okay? Thoroughly. It's called The Witch at the Forest's Edge. Now, I do want to say that The Witch at the Forest's Edge is like a branch that's their magic. So if I say Wicca to you, you would know what I'm saying. Forest Edge is like the title of their branch of witchcraft. And I didn't realize that. I just thought Witch at the Forest Edge sounds epic. I will say that the introduction gave me chills. It gave me chills. I don't know why. It just did. 13 Keys to Modern Traditional Witchcraft. But like I said, this is by Christine Grace. I do want to say that I think that they're mapping out their, like, they've come up with this. They've come up with this witchcraft. I don't know how else to explain it. But it was so good. Oh my God. Like, the last thing in the introduction says, welcome to the forest's edge. May your way be enchanted and your power extraordinary. Yes. It's like the whole book waxed poetic about witchcraft and magic. And I just felt the magic pouring out of this book. Some of the sections in here, chapters, I keep calling it sections, but worldview and spirituality, communing with spirits, spiritual ancestry, intuition, spirit senses, cultivating spiritual senses, ritual, hedge writing, divination, theology, a green and local craft, and the practical use of magical theory. I read this in one sitting. I read this like a fiction book. It was so good, even though I do feel like, I think if I'm remembering right, I think that this is like a whole separate branch of traditional witchcraft, but so a little bit. Yeah, see, okay. Christine Grace is a longtime teacher of the craft and a founder of the Forest Edge tradition of witchcraft. I do want to do more research because of what this book did to me, you guys. I want to look more into this. So, an invitation to animists, ancestor worshippers, magic seekers, and the wild at heart. This book is an in-depth course of study into modern traditional witchcraft. So good. Pick it up if that sounds like you, because it was so good. Okay, and then that was the two in Earth Magic. I'll put some two honorable mentions here that I read on Kindle that were rereads that, okay. One was Green Witchcraft by Anne Mora. It was okay. Okay, it is what it is, but if I want some herbal book, there are plenty of better ones out there. So, it was like an herbal green witchy, of course, because it's called Green Witchcraft, but there are better books out there. So I kind of perused that in the last couple months too. And then Wild Witch, which I believe is by Mariam Green. I think it's by Mariam Green. Wild Witch. I'll put a picture here. It's got the like woman forest cover. I got that on my Kindle too. I've had that on there for a long time. It was okay as well, but they're just honorable mentions for Earth Magic. You can go look up their blurbs if you want, but I don't know. They're not really on the list. The next section has been one of my favorite sections. I've gotten so much out of these three books in the last couple of months that have literally tore my socks off and made me go to the astral. And that is Spirit Flight. This section is about Spirit Flight. Now, I do want to say that I read the Ambrosia's book of Witchflight by our very own Jasmine Ambrosia. Okay, I will leave her channel below. This is a personal gnosis book on her accounts of Witchflight. And it was fantastic. I loved it so much that I had a vision of her 4 kingdoms. She talks about the 4 kingdoms of the astral. Let's see if I can get to one. Da, 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 da. Lots of journal entries, and I just loved it so much. She's got a spirit codex in here. Where are the sections? Here we go. The 4 kingdoms. Talks about the 4 kingdoms in here, and then goes into detail about each one. I had this like weird vision of a map, and I submitted it to her for her next book. So I don't know. Maybe that'll make the cut. I don't know. But I loved this book so much. We need more books on personal gnosis. I believe that if we give out what we're experiencing in a, hey, this is what I experienced. Hey, this is what I experienced. Hey, this is what I experienced. We can take books like this that are foundational to our practice, foundational in nature, right? And then add it to someone else's UPG, and then we can kind of be like, oh, well, this person tweaked this. It doesn't really align with what that book says, and how it just is kind of giving a small permission slip to the people out there that want to go into the craft. They can really do it themselves. They can rely on this and this and their five senses, whatever. They can rely on their shit. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Read this cover to cover in like one sitting. Loved it so much. Jasmine, you did good, babe. Okay, and then because I had picked that up, I got these off my, well, I got this one off my bookshelf, and I bought the other one. I loved Jasmine's book so much that I re-picked up A Broom at Midnight. You can't beat this, okay? You can't beat Roger J. Horn. I just love him so much. I love his writing so much. He just, I don't know, I just feel the most magical, the most witchy self I am when I'm reading him. Oftentimes I'll get folk witchcraft out and just like bibliomancy it and just feel my witchy self come up, you know? And that's how I felt with this. I just really love how he talks about stuff. So I got this book out, the 13 Gates of Witchflight, okay? A Broom at Midnight, 13 Gates of Witchcraft by SPIRITFLIGHT, Roger J. Horn, okay? Buy all of his books right now. But this one was really good. Oh, for Witchflight, okay? And then a newer one, I think this came out last year. Let me see. 2023, yeah, it came out last year. By Nathan Hall, okay? Path of the Moonlit Hedge, Discovering the Magic of Animistic Witchcraft, okay? Yes. Yes. I loved this so much. It's not so much Witchflight per se. I mean, it is, but it gave me Witchflight, witchcraft, magic, hedge riding, path walking, otherworld, I'll say, okay, let me see, otherworldly juice. I don't know how else to say it. And I don't get a lot of animistic magic books. There aren't a lot out there. And so I gravitate towards them. There's an animistic view of witchcraft. And I would even label myself an animistic soft polytheist, which is like a weird woo thing. But, you know, I am what I am, and I can't help it. So I gravitate towards the more animistic side of witchcraft books, especially the ones that are going to dive into topics like witchflight, hedge riding, things like that, going to the astral, otherworldly, using your imagination, just blah. I love it so much. He did a really good job in this book, okay? Hedge walking, witchcraft, animism, the healing journey. Oh, yes, art and magic. First contact, spirits of your land. Go talk to them. They're there. Time. Of course, I'm obsessed with time. I love time. The gate at the edge of the garden. That's like one of the last sections. Oh, just go pick this beautiful book up, okay? Yes. So, the last section, naturally, okay? The last category is the Horned God, okay? He's been lurking. He's been calling out from the depths. And I don't know what I'm going to do with him yet. But right now I'm reading and taking notes and stuff. But I don't know. I can feel sometime soon I'm going to get him out and play with him. Okay? So, a Kindle book that I read was The Horned God of the Witches. Don't know the damn author. I'll probably put it in the description below, but here's the cover. This was okay. It goes into the history, but we'll get into it a little bit in a second. But it goes into the history. It goes into ways you can work with him, of course. Just regular how-to with the witch's devil, or specifically the Horned God. And again, like I said, I'm kind of soft polytheist when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I believe they all are kind of the face. They're all faces. Pan, CERNUNNOUS, CERNUNNOUS, Pan, CERNUNNOUS, the Green Man. They're all kind of, you know, manifestations, faces of the witch's devil for me. Folkloric devil. In my opinion, okay? I want to plug a question here that I wrote down in my book of mirrors the other night. If CERNUNNOUS is the god, is the king of the forest, where is his throne? What would it be? Like Game of Thrones, you know, like that big sword, iron throne, right? Where would his throne be? Is it a chair in like a glade? Is it like in the middle of the forest? You know, like you think Treebeard, he lives way in the deep, ancient part of the forest. Like, is that where it is? Think about it. Where is his throne? This king of the forest. Okay. And then the last two books, of course, I got another Roger J. Horn on here, okay? Because I had already had that. This was sitting next to it as a Roger J. Horn book, The Witch's Devil. Had to get this out too as I was diving into him. So, yeah. Integral, like I said, just read anything Roger J. Horn writes. You're gonna get some gold. So yeah. Really good. And then the last one was, I had stumbled on this video, you guys, where this, let me see if I can remember their name. Amethyst the Diabolist. That's their channel name. I will leave the video below. They went into books that they had gotten on the devil, and I was thoroughly amazed at their collection that they had gotten. And one of which I bought immediately. And that is The Prince of Darkness by Jeffrey Burton Russell. Yeah, Jeffrey Burton Russell. The Prince of Darkness. I mean, how beautiful is this cover? And Radical Evil and the Power of Good in History. So not so much the devil and the history. It does go a little bit into the history of the devil, but more so the history of evil. And I've perused this, and it's going to be fascinating. Going to be fascinating. And I think that when I dive more into the Witch's Devil, I'll dive more into this and the evil and what that means, and fertility and vitality and virility and all of that, just all of that together, just pound it. So that's the plan. And then the last one is one that is on my TBR. And I want your opinion on the last one. This is another honorable mention. I've got it in my cart. And it's called The Horned... I'll put a picture here. Honor of Horns. Horns of Honor. Sorry. It's called Horns of Honor. About horned deities. The history of horned deities. I think I'm going to buy that. If anyone's read that, like I said, I'll put a picture here for you. If you've read that, let me know if you liked it, if it was worth the money and all that, worth the information. So there you go. So there was a little bit on the Witch's Devil, and that's the last section. All these books I have read and perused and just loved so much. So most of them. So yeah. Tell me what y'all are reading. Tell me if y'all have read any of these. Before they fall out of my mouth. So let me know your thoughts. I hope to see everyone again soon. Much love.